everyone and welcome back to Belle's Books. I'm so excited for today's video because I'm going to be sharing with you 6 different Christmas book recommendations. So these are my Christmas books. I only get them out at Christmas time. This is this year's edition, and basically every single year I get one little addition to my Christmas book pile. But yeah, I just think that it's a really fun tradition. So if you don't have this tradition, definitely start, and why not start with one of the books on here, because they are absolutely beloved by me. So I'm going to start with this year's edition, and this is Christina Lauren's Inner Holidays. So this is a romance, and it was described on Amazon as Love Actually meets Groundhog Day. And I was just like, you know what, that sounds cute, like that sounds fun, like it sounds silly. So basically what happens is there's this girl called Malin, and she every single year goes to this cabin with her parents and her parents' best friends and their kids and her brother and blah blah blah. And they all go every single year to this cabin and they spend Christmas together. This year, as Malin is leaving, they've just received some terrible news. So the owners of the cabin, one of her parents' best friends, is going to be selling the cabin, and they want to keep doing Christmas together, but they're not going to be doing it there anymore, and the vibe is just a little bit somber. So they're leaving, they're driving away in this car, and then all of a sudden the car gets into a car crash and Malin dies, and then she wakes up right at the beginning of her holiday all over again. So this is where the Groundhog Day comes into play. So she basically has to figure out how she's supposed to live her life, and if she messes up or does something wrong, then she basically dies and gets sent back to the beginning of the holiday all over again. It's a romance, it's funny, there are some like silly moments in there, and mostly it's just cute. And it is short, which I feel like is quite often essential in a Christmas book, because you only want to read it when you're feeling Christmassy, which is like a few weeks before Christmas up until Christmas Eve, right? So then we've got Snug in Iceland by Victoria Walker, and this is about a girl called Rachel who is stuck in a rut, and then her boss sends her at Christmas time to Iceland, where she has to open up a franchise of the store that she owns. Her boyfriend is supposed to come visit her, but he keeps bailing on her, and he kind of sucks anyways. He's all about that big city life, he's all about the money, and she is learning to love life itself and step away from money, and she's finding fulfillment in this town in Iceland, and then all of a sudden she meets her tour guide Jonas, and then she discovers that there is love out there for her in Iceland. It's just a really short, very cute Christmas story. My mum bought me this one for Advent last year. So we then have Oranges for Christmas by Margarita Morris. So you might like this if you're like a Cold War, World War II like history buff, or if you're just into historical fiction. So this is a little bit sadder, but it does have a kind of happy ending. So the blurb on the back says, "The war is over, but the fight for freedom has only just begun." So it's set in the 60s in Berlin during the Cold War, when the Berlin Wall divides the east of Berlin from the west, and then one family is torn apart, and they have to kind of fight to be reunited as well as to survive. So it's kind of a bit of a family saga, basically. And this one my mum got for me as well a couple of years ago for Advent. And it is historical fiction, so there's no like truth in it, but I think like a lot of the facts and the setting are accurate, if that makes sense. We then have Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson and Lauren Miracle. So this is like from my childhood, like a little anthology of 3 holiday romances that I used to love and read. Yeah, there are 3 different stories basically, and they're all separate love stories, but then they do connect at the end of the stories, so it works together really well, and they're set on Christmas Eve as well, so this is a good like last minute one. And because I think it's a young adult book as well, this one always goes by so quickly, and so I love reading it on like Christmas Eve's Eve or Christmas Eve. We then have Katie Ford, The Christmas Stocking and Other Stories. So they're all quite different, they're quite wholesome, and they've got that kind of family element. So while some of them are like romances, some of them are about love, but like family love as well. So I think they work quite well together, and it's just a really cute book as well. I think I actually got this one from a charity shop, you know. And then last but not least, I have The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict, and I picked this up last year, so I got 2 Christmas books last year, which is so bad. And this is about a girl called Lily, who never intended to return to Endgame House, because it's the family home where her mother died 21 Christmases ago. But then she receives a letter from her aunt asking her to take part in the Christmas Game annual tradition, and then the prize is the deed to the manor house. She doesn't want to win the house, but she finds out that if she solves the mystery, she'll also find out who killed her mother. So she goes and she stays at Endgame House for the 12 days of Christmas with her estranged cousins. Basically, if you love the Inheritance Game trilogy, you're gonna absolutely love this book. They've got a very similar vibe, and if you love mysteries, if you love murder mysteries, like, again, you're gonna love this book. It is really well written, and it just absolutely flies by. So although it seems like a bit of a bigger one for Christmas, like, you get so enthralled in it that you just have to read it so quickly. So these are my Christmas book recommendations. So if you have any Christmas recommendations for me this year that I've not read before, please do pop them in the comments below because I'd love something to read. Leave your suggestions in the comments down below and don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will see you again next time with even more books.